The United States is sounding the alarm following Russian President Putin meeting with the leaders of China, North Korea, and Vietnam. One America's chief White House correspondent, Paige, has the details.
Russia seems to be covering its bases when it comes to meeting with key partners like China, North Korea, and Vietnam. These latest meetings come to the dismay and criticism of the Biden administration. And for more on this, I want to bring in former National Security Council spokesman under the Trump administration, John Elliott. John, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Monica.
So I want to start out with this latest meeting between Vladimir Putin and Vietnam to strengthen its strategic ties, to which Vladimir Putin is describing this as one of his priorities. So what could be possibly the benefit of Russia strengthening its ties with Vietnam?
Well, Russia, what they're looking to do in the region is that we have pushed, through our weakness, through Biden's weakness, we have pushed Russia into Asia, whether it goes to China and then North Korea and then also now in Vietnam. And so what happens is that he's building his alliances, Putin's building the alliances there with these countries that can provide a foothold for him and for his Navy in Vietnam. Also have this, what they've announced in North Korea is very interesting, because what that is, it's a mutual defense agreement, which hasn't been there in 30 years since they had one under the Soviet Union. It's almost like a NATO type alliance. And so that's a huge move. If you take a step back and look what President Trump did when he was in the region, we traveled there when we were working for Mr. Trump, for President Trump on the National Security Council. We traveled to both Vietnam and to the Philippines, and we were strengthening ties there on his behalf. So that shows that Putin is acting on Biden's weakness.
Yeah, and I want to bring up something that you just hit on, this mutual defense agreement that Russia and North Korea just signed together. Russia's been expressing interest in building what it considers to be this reliable security infrastructure in the Asia-Pacific region. Should America be concerned with these meetings that Vladimir Putin is having with these leaders, or do you think this is just for optics to flex its muscle on the world stage?
Well, no, it's not just optics. North Korea is actually supplying a huge number of munitions to Russia in its war in Ukraine, and these are actual agreements that he's getting. And with Vietnam, it's the same thing. He's actually getting tangible agreements, not to the level of North Korea. Just take a step back for 1 second. If you look at the relations that President Trump had, Obama told him, as they were doing the transition, told President Trump, your biggest problem is going to be North Korea. And here he is 3 years later, actually shaking hands, walking across. And so North Korea wasn't firing missiles into the Pacific and threatening Japan and others in the last 3 years of the Trump administration. Instead, they forged good ties. And so now Biden is not able to, he doesn't have the force of personality. He's not able to even get through a G7 without wandering off and being corralled by others. And so that weakness enables Putin to go out and say, we're going to forge those agreements ourselves.
So, John, when it comes to these agreements on the world stage, how would a stronger partnership between Russia, North Korea, and Vietnam, how would this affect us here at home, here in our own backyards?
It adds pressure to the U.S. Navy that's operating and the joint forces that are operating in the Western Pacific. When they're working right in that region, they can send their Navy over there. China is the big threat to Taiwan, and now you have Russia strengthening ties with China, as well as Vietnam, and as well as looking at the Philippines and other places where they can make inroads. So North Korea, Vietnam, and China, and then the Philippines are also taking the brunt of that because they're being threatened by China.
Former National Security Council spokesman under the Trump administration, John Elliott, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Monica.
For all our viewers asking where One America News is heading in the future, we would like to introduce you to OAN Live. OAN Live is the best way to stay up to date on all of the hard-hitting, straight-shooting, national and international headlines. And the best part is, OAN Live is only $4.99 per month. All the credible, honest, unbiased reporting One America News offers at a fraction of the cost of cable. Just go to OANN.com to easily sign up for OAN Live and stay informed.